Christmas Eve, and if you're not excited about Christmas now, there is no hope for you. 24th today, that means it's the last day of the Advent calendar. I might do a little bonus video tomorrow, but I don't think that's part of the Advent calendar because Advent's 24 days. Tomorrow's the 25th, tomorrow's Christmas Day, that's that. But let's get back to today. Yesterday we talked about goose fat. Geese are a very festive bird because they're a very delicious bird to eat at Christmas. But I kind of thought, I think I can do a better video about geese. And I fancy doing something a little bit different today. So, cue Untitled Goose Game. That might sound a little bit left field, and yeah, it is. And you might be thinking, what on earth does Untitled Goose Game have to do with medicine? Well, bear with me. As a GP, I get a lot of people coming to see me about stress. Stress is a very real problem, and how we deal with it is really important. And as tenuous and trivial as it sounds, I do think there is something to be learned from Untitled Goose Game in dealing with stress. Bear with me, this is a little bit trivial and silly, but I thought I'd talk about the goose as an embodiment of Stoic philosophy, which is something that lots of people find helpful for dealing with stress. Don't worry, I'm not entirely serious about this, but I think there are some similarities that you can shoehorn in there. Firstly, apologies to any Stoics around or any Stoic philosophers. This is a horrible 2-minute broad brush butchering of Stoicism, so take it for what it is. So firstly, what is Stoicism? It's an ancient Greek philosophy on how to live. It's not purely an academic thing, it's always been about how we actually live our lives in a meaningful and good and happy way, as arguably all philosophy should be. And it tries to have a real impact on how we can live our lives in a more fulfilling way, and it has done historically for people from slaves to emperors. So what does this have to do with a goose in a computer game, and what does it have to do with stress? So firstly, I'm going to call the goose from Untitled Goose Game Goose. The goose from Untitled Goose Game doesn't have a name, but if I keep calling the goose from Untitled Goose Game the goose from Untitled Goose Game, this will get very long-winded and very confusing. So, he is Goose from now on. He may be a lady goose, he may be a man goose, but I'm going to call him Goose for our video. So Goose lives in a very small world. It's a humble countryside village, and he has his little list of self-contained goals. For a computer game, the goals are pretty mundane. To put a rake in a lake, or to have a picnic, or steal someone's keys, or whatever. Goose isn't trying to take over the world. He's not trying to build or destroy civilizations, not trying to liberate populations and orchestrate the destruction of a corrupt capitalist system. He's not rescuing princesses from the depths of dungeons in castles. He's not trying to pull off elaborate heists or fight alien invaders and defeat their evil overlord. He's trying to put a gardener's rake in a lake. Because we're a horrible goose, and causing petty chaos is fun when you're a goose. Goose has his place in the world figured out. And that's where control comes in. We've got very limited control over most of our lives. But we do have some control. The Stoics reckon that we only really have control over what we think about, and our immediate actions that come from that. But we can control what we think, and they reckon that that's the key to happiness. I use the word happiness loosely. The Stoic idea of happiness probably isn't the same as ours. It's probably more like contentment. But I guess you can see that in Goose. Goose doesn't look particularly happy, but he does look fairly content. We all have all kinds of thoughts and feelings coming into our heads. Some of them conflict with each other, and some of them we won't like. But we can control how we think about them, and that makes us happy or not. If Goose decided that he wanted to become a plumber and rescue a princess from an evil turtle, then he's destined for failure. He's not going to be happy, ever. But if he decides he wants to have a picnic, that's an achievable goal. Dragging a pumpkin that's heavier than you are all the way across the garden is not easy for a goose. But it's achievable. And that will make a fine picnic. And you know what would make this picnic even better? Some music. That seems achievable, but I'll bet the gardener won't like us nicking his radio. And so it comes back to control. We have no control over the gardener's actions, so we shouldn't try and control the gardener. We've got to give up on any attempt to control the gardener if we're going to be happy. He's bigger and stronger than we are, and if it comes to it, he'll win. We can shout and scream all we want, but he's going to get his radio back. So we accept it and we make do with what we have, or we might not give up, but we accept that the gardener's actions are out of our control, and we do what we can to steal the radio once more, knowing that he might take it back from us again, but we just have to accept that. Setbacks happen and failure is always part of success. And we can put this in anything. I'd like for this channel to have 100 subscribers by midnight on Christmas, but I'm not going to pin my happiness on it. It's a goal that I accept I can't control. What I can do is keep making videos, keep putting them out there and asking you to subscribe, asking you to share these videos with anyone that you know that might like them. Share this one, for example, with anyone that you know that might have stress in their lives, that you think might be interested in Stoic philosophy, or that might like a game with a goose in it, which is pretty much everyone. The point is that if we're going to be happy, we'll come up against obstacles. We all come up against stress. Some of the obstacles will be from inside ourselves, and some will be external. And if we have a good idea of our own abilities, of our own nature, then we can get a better idea of what is within our control. And then we can act on that, but we need to accept that external obstacles, whether that's a computer game gardener, or a horrible boss, or a terrible courier service, or a delayed train, or whatever it is out of our control. But how we deal with it and how we choose to think about it can relieve stress, and that can make us happy. I really hope you've enjoyed the Advent calendar. If you have, you know what to do. Have a Merry Christmas, and I'll see you soon.